Well, what's going on, gang? It's nice to see you. Welcome back. I thought today I would share five of my favorite knives with you. I've been going through my collection lately, been sharing a lot over on various short video apps and things, and so I've had an opportunity to kind of spiral through my stuff. And I realized that as much as I enjoy reviewing new things and exciting things, I have a great collection, so I thought I would share it with you. So today we're going to do five. There'll be more of these down the road. I have a fairly large knife collection. So let's just dive in no particular order. These are not the best knives I own. They're not the most expensive. These are just knives that I love. And I'm going to start with one that is really not going to be on a lot of people's radar. This is the Kaiser Cane. And it's a monster, and it's fantastic. It is S35VN. It is all titanium. This is a 2017 or 2018 Kaiser release, and I love this thing. It is a thick slab. It's a Degnan design. Is that going to show up? Let's see if we can get that. Come on now. No? There it is. Shit. Anyway, this is a matte Degnan design, and look, it's a fantastic pocket knife. Now, as I said, it's not the fanciest. It is not the most interesting, but it is just as an everyday sort of large carry tool. This thing is fantastic. It's got a great choil up here. You can come forward on the blade. It is hollow ground S35VN. It's not very deep carry, but I can live with that for a knife this large. That was my dog, excuse me, just knocking things around. Thanks, pup. This is just a great knife. You will not be able to find one of these. They do make an inexpensive version of this knife. Don't buy that knife. There's something about their sort of more budget-friendly version of this knife, and I had it, and it's awful. It just is. This, on the other hand, slab-side titanium, but as you can see, it's chamfered on the edges. There is no jimping. It is very smooth, and yet it is. Look at the size of this thing. Let's get some basic specs out of the way. If we line it up on that line for you, you know, we're at what, 8, 9, and an eighth. So over 9 inches overall. The cutting area on this thing is 3.5 on basically 3 3/4 inches of that S35VN. It's just a favorite of mine to carry and use, so I'm sharing it with you. I'll post a link to the Blade HQ where you can find the specs and stuff on it if you're interested. These are out there periodically. Look at that. It's just well done. These are out there periodically in the secondary market, but they weren't that popular to begin with. But it has become and remains a favorite of mine. Let's go ahead and put this up here. What should we grab next? How about right there? Oh, yeah. Okay, so a couple of years ago, Jason Grant designed and released the Grant Gripper. We had a prototype in for review, and I fell in love with it, and it's been a personal favorite ever since. The gripper here is M390. It is all titanium. It is running on bearings. It's got almost a full-length jimped back spacer. I love the frag pattern on the titanium. From Jason, I went ahead and got myself some black pivot collars. These usually come in other colors, but I got black ones. The hollow grind on this thing is amazing. I carry this knife all the time in multiple forms of deployment. There is a little tiny flipper back here, which works beautifully. You, of course, can Spidey flick this thing all day long, which is great. And then there's this little nub on the front, so you can, in fact, front flip it if you're into that. This is number 51. You know, it's funny, when I got this, my first thought was, and look at the refinement on the build on this thing, right? It's really tight to the blade, and yet I've had this now for, what, a couple of years, and I've never had a centering problem, never had an issue. I love the fact that the pocket clip, you can see that screw just there, the pocket clip is screwed in from the back, so there's no weird screw on this side. It really cleans up the look. Size-wise, you got 3 1/8 inches of cutting on 3 3/4 inches of M390. Knife overall is 8 a little over 8.5. I love this sort of neutral handle. I mean, obviously, right? That's kind of twice it's come up. It's just a great knife. Jason has moved away from folders. There are still a few, but mostly what he's doing now are full custom fixed blades, and I'm in that. I'm there for it as well. I've got one in here somewhere. You might see that as I kind of make my way through the collection. But this is just a personal favorite, the Grant Gripper. What's next? Okay. This is the DPX Hest F in Nylox. And I got this, oh God, a long time ago now. I really like knives that are rust and stain and corrosion resistant. I love M390, I love S35VN and all that stuff, but there's something really satisfying about a knife that you just don't have to worry about the weather. And this Nylox is one of those. Incredibly rust and stain resistant. It is titanium and G10. It's got a little glass breaker on it. They do still sell these, but they come in more traditional steels now. And I'm glad I got this one. It is just a perfect fit for my relatively large hands. It is, well, so it's interesting because the blade to handle ratio is sort of Strider-esque. I've had a number of Striders. They're all gone now, but this remains. It's got a bottle opener here, and the jimping back here is actually designed to, as you can see, it scales down as you go this way. This is for wire stripping. The lanyard hole in the back is the right size for a 1/4-inch bit, so you can drive stuff with it. It's just a really useful and excellent knife, and I love it. I'm not a huge fan of blades that lock, but whatever. It's got a relatively nice deep carry clip that is reversible, although you can't do anything about the fact that it is a frame lock. I've had this thing for a long time. It has been camping and hiking and all sorts of outdoors with me. I've used it from everything from feather sticking to cleaning fish. And the coating on the blade is unwounded, although you can see there's a little bit of wear on the edges through here where it rides in the pocket. But the actual coating is held up beautifully well. I think I've only had to sharpen it twice. It's just a great knife. When I'm done, I'll hit you with some prices for these if you're interested. Again, I don't like blades that lock. This thing does hang up on me sometimes, but I could take it off, but then there'd just be a space for it. So we just leave it. Overall, the DPX Hest line is just an excellent, how thick, that's a nice thick slab of that Nylox too. These are not inexpensive, none of these are, but it's just a favorite. So there you go. What's next? Ooh, I have an idea. This little guy is the HEA Designs Hunter, and I'm not a huge small knife guy. Well, I'm not a big fan. Nope, that doesn't work either. I'm not generally a fan of small knives, but every once in a while something comes along that catches my attention and just works. The Hunter here is one of these. My wife got hers at Blade Show in 2019 in Atlanta. I did not get one. And as I said in my original review of this thing, we then sort of battled periodically about who got to carry it. So when I found another one on the used market, I grabbed it. Sorry about that. And I'm glad that I did. Check this out. So it's a front flipper, but it's really easy to do. It is not hollow, it's flat ground. It's very pokey. Relatively neutral handle, and this sweep at the tail means that what would be, right, because the blade comes all the way out to that edge, but this is away. So when you grab it, your pinky's got somewhere to go. It's still a full-size knife. It fits my hand beautifully. And I love, it's got this sort of stonewash, on the blade itself, and then the flats are more polished. The carbon fiber is all milled out and cool. Backside's relatively plain, but it's got a very nice pocket clip. This is a fantastic knife. Now you can flick it, and of course you can, well, unless you screw it up on camera, you can front flip it. But it's tiny. You got about 2 3/4 inches of cutting on just under 3 inches of. Oh, this is 154 cm. That's cool. For those of you that are relatively new to knives, 154 cm was a super steel right up until it wasn't. It used to be good stuff. I've never had any trouble with this. Wherever the heat treat came from, it has held an edge beautifully. I love the little bit of belly on this thing. It's just an excellent everyday tool, particularly if you're somewhere, it's got a lanyard hole, as you can see, particularly if you're somewhere where one of these is too much knife. This is very subtle, very fast, and very slicey. It's just an excellent tool. These were about 230 bucks back in 2019. They do, and okay, they have since this thing came out released more budget-friendly versions. So you can still get this design. I'm just not sure you can still get these materials. I like higher-end materials, so this one really suits me just fine, and I love this knife. Now, that little tip, which is very pokey, is of course, you're not going to want to jab that in and like tweak it on stuff. You might bend it, but for a light, comfortable, look at the backspacer on there. It's got a little bit of milling in it. For a light, easy to carry, very stabby little EDC, the HEA Designs Hunter has just remained a personal favorite. And finally, a bag. I have a relatively nice bag collection. I'll share that with you guys, I think, down the road, just as a piece, but we'll start here. It's funny. I've had this knife twice. There are other Todd bag knives that I sort of generally like, but I don't explain it. But this one, there's something about this. This is the Field Marshal. This is the Steelcraft Field Marshal. This is not one of his customs or one of his near custom. This is a production knife. But it's just amazing. Now, there are a couple of things about the... So let me look at the work on that backspacer, which, by the way, folds over. See that? It's got a lanyard spot back here. It's got the Todd bag holes in the blade. If you don't like those, you're not going to love Todd bag stuff very much. Look at the milling around on the titanium around the pivot. Both sides. This has IKBS bearings in it, which means inside here are races for the bearings that are loose. Yeah, okay, so when I got one of these originally, way back when, that alone was reason for me to get rid of it, because I wasn't that comfortable taking knives apart, and I do like to take them apart and clean them, and so those loose bearings just freak me out, man. However, I got rid of it, regretted it, sort of accepted, because these aren't being made anymore, sort of accepted that I wouldn't be getting another one. And in the meantime, I got more comfortable with working with the little tiny bearings and keeping stuff clean. And so when this one popped up, I grabbed it, and it is just, it's such an excellent tool. Really large S35 VN blade, relatively thick slice, lots of drop, so it comes down to a very nice edge. Got a forward choil that's usable, so you can grab hold of it and use it this way. The handle is not as neutral as some of these others, but the way that it's shaped, I have a thing for sort of pistol I'll do a whole video on that, actually. Knives with a drop down here. I just like that feel. And this thing just, it's got a ceramic ball in the clip, right? This thing just remains a personal favorite. Of course, I love Todd Bag's designs all the way around. I told you I'd tell you what the prices were. Let's do this, just because it's interesting looking that way, I suppose. Let's put this here. There, how's that? We're doing just a little bit of table art. Let's see. The Todd bags were, God, they were like $460. But then every Christmas they'd go on sale at like half price. I think they were just trying to unload them. It is excessive, but if you look just at the millwork. Now, keep in mind, this is 2018, 2017, 2018. This is an old knife. The laser, they didn't have the tools back then that they do now. So back when this was made with all of this really refined work in it, this was a lot of work to produce. So still, $460 is a lot. The DPX Hest was about $210 back then. I think they're going for much closer to $300 now, and not in the Nylock steel. The Cane was $235. There was a time when Kaiser only made giant slabs of titanium and S35 VN, and they were all about $235, $225, $235. The gripper was about $330, worth every penny. And then the HEA Designs Hunter was about $220. These are all relatively hard to find at this point, but they're just some of my favorites. Down in the comments, let me know, if you don't mind, which of this little piece of my collection you like best or don't like. That's okay too. You don't have to like everything I do, but I'm curious to see which ones speak to you and which ones don't. I'll grab another 5 out of the knife roll down the road a ways and share some more with you. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. If you have any questions about these knives or any of my knives, feel free to ask down in the comments below. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.